Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. Can everybody hear me okay? The reason I ask is because I'm using a different computer to run this live stream. Everybody hear me? Because this is the first time I've connected an external microphone to this computer. So I'm just checking that everything's okay. All right, we got a yes. We got a yes. We got 2 yeses. We got 3 yeses. Good stuff. All right. My old faithful laptop that I normally use for everything, it's defunct, it's broken. It's not actually broken, it's working, but its battery's just gone. So it continually stays on 1%, and then I have to keep it like charged, like with the charger in. So I have got a newer computer. So I thought, why don't I just use the newer computer and then I can use the old computer just as a backup? So I spent the entire morning swapping everything over, and I'm still not happy with it because I'm a creature of habit and everything has to look exactly the same, and it doesn't. So it's annoying me. But anyway, we endeavour to continue. We're going to continue. So I'm going to talk about Jack and Lily. And look, over the last few days, I've been talking about the cadaver dog issue. And I know it's not that popular. Right? I can tell by my viewing figures it's not that popular. But since these court documents came out, I've been thinking, did they just wander off? And it's an unpopular opinion because even the family doesn't believe it. Even the family doesn't believe that they just wandered off. But is it really that simple? Will it come down to they just wandered off? And in other cases, I'm confident. When I say something like that, I'm confident about it. Like the Sebastian Rogers case, and that's an unpopular opinion in Sebastian's case, to say that he walked away. It's unpopular. Most people who have discussed the case, either as a creator or as somebody who participates in the social media aspect of it, most people are in 2 camps. Either Katie and Chris did something or Seth did something. You're in the 2 camps. And from really early on in Sebastian's case, I thought, no, he walked away. And it's a very different case. I mean, some people have compared Lily and Jack's case to Sebastian's case, and I don't think it's comparable because the ages of these children were very different. Like Sebastian was 15 when he went missing, whereas Lily and Jack are just 6 and 4. So very different. I think Lily and Jack's case is more comparable to that of Summer Wells. Same age group, same kind of environment, like, you know, terrain-wise, very rural, miles of woodland that's difficult to navigate. Parents who are themselves controversial. I think there's a lot of similarities between Lily and Jack's case and Summer Wells. And I'm not the only person who thinks that. Now, in Summer's case, my number one theory is that she was abducted. I do think Summer walked away from a hill, but then I think something happened to her. Like somebody did something that resulted in her being missing for over 4 years. Now, in Lily and Jack's case, I have been conflicted. From the beginning, I've been conflicted. And 4 months down the line, I'm still conflicted. But since the court documents came out, and we've seen what the RCMP think, at least up until mid-July, they don't think there was a crime. And we have not had that. We've not had that in Sebastian's case. We've had some information come out from Sebastian's case because the PI has released stuff, and at night the lack of intelligence agency have released stuff. So the stuff that we've had in Sebastian's case is mainly video. You know, the Texas Roadhouse video, the outside the Texas Roadhouse video. We've had videos released from the neighborhood, like camera stuff released. But we haven't had anything from the cops at all. The TBI are very, very, very tight-lipped. And in Summer's case, we've had virtually nothing other than what the parents have said, what neighbours have said. Whereas in this case now, in Lilly and Jack's case, we've had the RCMP's own words. You know, I know that the media got them through freedom of information requests. It wasn't that the RCMP just released them just because. They were requested, and here we are. Here we are. So the fact that we've got the RCMP's words has to mean something. It has to. But is it that simple? Let's have a look here. We've got some gifted memberships. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look here. Why is it not letting me? I'm even using a different computer to go. Oh, dear me. All right. Why are you not letting me do it? There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. No. I always say I need a mouse. And I was blaming the other computer for doing this to me, but this computer's doing it now. So I've swapped my computers over, as I said. It doesn't want me to see the chat at all. Oh, there we go. There we go. Got it. All right. Purple AJ has gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much, Purple AJ. We've got Lily C, Coral, Shauna, Just Me, Julia, Explore, Crystal, Wee Scottish Mort, Blue Stars, and House Milk. Is that House Milk? Oh, House Music. It read like milk. I saw need glasses. Thank you, Purple AJ. You are a superstar. And thank you so much, Mrs. Kojak, for gifting $10. Thank you. You are very kind. Very, very kind. Very kind. All right. We can go back to this. And now, look, this is what the RCMP have said here. Let me just show you this. Let's make this bigger. At this point in the investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offence has occurred. And then they say that the polygraphs taken by a bunch of people from the family were conducted with the intention of ruling out that possibility. Now, I'm not silly enough to think that they've just used polygraphs to rule out the possibility of a crime occurring, at least by a member of the family. But everybody passed. Everybody who has taken a polygraph in the family has passed. Now, polygraphs are not admissible in court, as we all know, and they're not admissible in court for a reason, is they're not 100% reliable. But it's harder to pass a polygraph when you're guilty than it is to fail a polygraph when you're not guilty, if that makes sense. It's I would say it's relatively common to fail a polygraph and you be innocent for a bunch of different reasons, like you're nervous or the question threw you off. There are a bunch of reasons why you might fail a polygraph. Like Tyler Vaughan from the Michael Vaughan case. People know the Michael Vaughan case from Idaho. Tyler, Michael's dad, failed a polygraph. And there's no way in the world that Tyler Vaughan had anything to do with Michael's disappearance. But he failed a polygraph because he was guilty, because Michael went missing on his watch. So he felt bad. He felt guilty. So that kind of just came through in the polygraph result. But when you pass a polygraph, yes, there are ways and means that you could pass a polygraph. You could be a complete psychopath and or you believe your own lies, or you take some kind of, I don't know, certain medications that can relax you sufficiently where the polygraph won't detect when you're anxious. There's various ways, but every single person who took a polygraph in this case passed. Daniel passed, Malaya passed, Cody passed, Cindy and Wade passed. Janie they couldn't interpret Janie's result because of her physiology. I think it must be to do with some kind of medical condition. But it's not just the polygraphs, is it? You know, they've either had to have been, let's say, like Daniel and Malaya had something to do with it. They've either had to be criminal masterminds to do it. I just don't know. I'm conflicted. Then again, there are things I can't get over. There are things that I can't get past. And one of the things I can't get past is Malaya leaving. I can't get past that. And maybe I should get past that. Maybe it's time to get past that. The other thing that I can't get past is the lack of scent. The search dog's lack of scent. I'm struggling to get past that as well. But then again, if we look at what they actually did in terms of the search dogs, I'm not confident with the RCMP's approach. And I've talked about this recently, got a whole bunch of videos about search dogs recently. I did a standalone video about search dogs recently. Just go to my videos I've done in the last few days. So that's about search dogs. That's about search dogs. That's my standalone video about live scent tracker dogs. These are about cadaver dogs, these two. And I don't like the RCMP strategy and how they've utilised dogs in this case. Or not in the case of cadaver dogs. Where's Malaya's baby now? I'm in CPS care, I believe. Thank you, LJ Forever, for the $4. Thank you so much. Thank you. I believe that baby Meadow is in CPS care. I've not heard anything to the contrary. I've not heard that she's got her back. So I'm going to come back to the dogs in a minute, but Malaya leaving and the fact that Meadow is in CPS care is a massive concern. Massive concern. They don't just take your kids. Like if one child in the family goes missing, they don't just decide to take your kids. I'll go back to Michael Vaughan. Michael went missing. There was 3 other kids in the family, 2 older kids, and then a baby. It was only a baby at the time when Michael disappeared. They weren't taken into CPS care because they had no reason to believe that the family had done anything to Michael. So the other kids weren't in danger. The other kids weren't, at threat of being disappeared as well. And the vast majority of missing child cases, they don't take the other kids in the family into CPS care. Yeah, the Wells. There is the Wells. There is the Wells. That said, I don't even know that they'd have taken the boys into CPS care if it hadn't been for Don Wells acting like a maniac. So I don't know that the Wells would have lost their boys under normal circumstances. Whether mum and stepdad drug tested on day 1, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know about day 1. But that's the problem. Look, I can't get over Malaya. I can't get over the fact that there was CPS involvement that resulted in Baby Meadow being taken. There has to be reasons for that. And we're never going to find out those reasons because you can put in all the freedom of information requests you want and family courts are not going to release documents about children, quite rightly. So all of that backstory as to what actually went on with the CPS and why Baby Meadow has been taken, we're never going to know the full truth about that. We might hear it from family members, but we're not going to hear it from the CPS. So that creates a massive conflict for me. That's unusual. It's not the norm when a child goes missing in a family for other children to then be taken into care. Daniel's statements, I can probably get over Daniel, actually. I can probably get over the fact that Daniel has made inconsistent statements. I can probably get over that because, people don't necessarily have a photographic memory. And I think some of the time that Daniel has been chatting online, I think he's been purposefully disingenuous. And I've always said, I don't like the fact that we don't have a proper timeline. But I think we do have enough information to be able to say if the children walked away, they probably did so maybe an hour before they were reported missing. Daniel himself told YouTube, oh, it's gone. Daniel himself took, oh, it's gone. There we go. He thinks Malaya knows what happened. I know. This is what I'm saying, that Daniel has made disingenuous statements to YouTube or to people online. And one of those is that he thinks Malaya's involved. Now, I don't necessarily think that Daniel believes that. I think Daniel is angry with Malaya for leaving. And I think he's prepared to wind up YouTubers like Don Wells was. Look, Don Wells said stuff that incriminated himself. And Don Wells was saying stuff like the Mexican cartel had kidnapped Summer. Do you remember that, if you followed the Summer Wells case? He told somebody who he knew would then go and spread it to YouTubers that the Mexican cartel had kidnapped Summer because he owed them drug money. And it was a lie. It was a lie. Don Wells came online and lied just for his own amusement. And Don Wells, you know, his drunken exploits made him look really, really bad, and he didn't care. He absolutely did not care. And then we had Candice's Oscar-winning performance saying that to Don's stepsister, saying that Don had been arrested. And we all believed it. I believed it. I believed it. When I heard that call, I believed it because she was so convincing. She was absolutely heartbroken. And it turned out that it was all a hoax, that they were doing it just for a laugh. So I'm very prepared to think that Daniel has said stuff to YouTubers for his own amusement. Now, there's no way Daniel is in the same league as Don Wells. Let's be clear here. In my opinion, Daniel is a saint compared to the exploits that Don Wells got up to in the first year that Summer was missing. You know, Don Wells has never been more popular, and he loved it. He loved it. And I dare say that Daniel, you know, the attention that he got from the media maybe went to his head a little bit. He got a platform. And Don Wells learned his lesson. He's very quiet now. And so is Daniel. I mean, he pops up in certain chats and says stuff, but he's quieter. You know, since all the media went away, he's not had the same level of attention. But I guess you could say when everybody's blaming you, you might as well just, you know, put a few coals on the fire and stoke it a little bit. You know, light the touch paper, and then you can be amused at what people say. It's childish. It's not productive in any way, shape or form. It doesn't help anything or anyone. Certainly doesn't help the people that are missing. But I dare say maybe you feel that you've got some kind of sense of control. You know, if you know that you're lying, you're just lying to YouTube like Don Wells did for your own amusement. Well, at least you've got control over that. At least you can feel, you know, good that people are believing this nonsense and it's just all a big joke. You've got a sense of control back, I guess. So I could possibly get over the fact that Daniel has been disingenuous, and I could oversee that. I could say, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that he believes what he's saying. So the two things that I'm struggling with are first, Malaya leaving, and then Meadow being taken into care. I really don't like that. And the dogs. The fact that there was no scent. Now, we have heard that they did track a scent down the driveway. It's not in this document, though. It's not in this document. We've heard from the family that dogs tracked Lilly and Jack sent down the driveway. But of course they're going to track Lilly and Jack sent down the driveway. Of course they are, because Lilly and Jack walk every day that they go to school. They walk down that driveway to catch the bus at the end of the drive. So of course we are going to have residual scent of Lilly and Jack going down the driveway. Did the parents say the West boys walked off? Yeah, they did. But it was obvious from day one to me that the West boys, I'm going to use their birth names, Classic and Sincere, rather than the names that the West gave them. But it was obvious Classic and Sincere didn't walk away, because a neighbour released, within days of them being reported missing, a neighbour released camera footage which showed Trezell West doing something completely different than what he told the world. So as soon as I saw that video, I knew. And that interview that they gave to the media was an absolute shambles. It was obvious to me that the Classic and Sincere did not walk away. It was obvious. It was obvious. So my problem with the dogs has become more problematic, that I can't trust the RCMP in their strategy with the dogs. As I've been talking about in recent days, I don't trust their strategy with the dogs. So the fact that there was no scent, is it because they used the wrong dogs? Is it that Lilly and Jack actually were in those woods, and either they deployed the dogs in the wrong places or they deployed the wrong dogs? So the dog issue, I think, is my biggest problem at the moment. And that's why I've done so many videos on it recently. And it certainly doesn't help me reach any form of comfort in that the RCMP at least have eliminated a possibility. In my opinion, they haven't. In my opinion, they've made the situation even more muddy. Buglove, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. You are so kind. So we've got No More Lies, Harmony. What else have we got here? This is so annoying. I can't see the other two, but thank you, Buglove. You are so kind. So if you have been gifted a membership, either by Buglove or Purple AJ, if you haven't been a member before, please do go and check out the members area. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Why haven't the dogs found Travis Decker? Good question. Very good question. Very good question. Look, dogs are not foolproof. Dogs are not robots. Dogs are dogs, and they do make mistakes. They absolutely do. Usually for understandable reasons, if you know dogs. But we do have to be mindful that dogs are not robots. Chat is going very fast. Do you want me to slow it down? I can slow it down a bit. Give me a second. I can put slow mode on. So what do we want? 20 seconds? We'll do 20 seconds. And if it's still too fast, I can make it more. Is that better? Yeah, the fact that Malaya is living on a reserve doesn't mean to say that she's got away with anything. My understanding is the basic law of the land still applies to people living on the reserves. So if Malaya takes shelter at the reserve, doesn't mean to say that the RCMP can't get to her. No, they don't. What? The laws of the land don't apply to people living on the reserves. Well, look, I'm not Canadian, so they're a separate nation state as well. Right. Okay. The laws do apply. I thought they did. The reserves are policed by the RCMP. That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Please look at the case that's currently happening on res. Which case? RCMP frequently attend the reserves. Canadian law applies. The First Nations even have their own child services. Yeah, but even if they have their own child services, it doesn't mean to say that you can't be done under Canadian law if you abuse your children. The internal case between the Tribal Council and the CPS. The mass stabbing case. Okay. Well, I'll go and check that out later, but I really don't think that Malaya can hide. Malaya is in communication with the RCMP. Malaya is being briefed by the RCMP. She's not hiding from the RCMP. Laws concerning Indigenous reserves in Canada involve federal jurisdiction under the Indian Act and provincial laws that apply to reserves were not superseded by federal legislation. Canadian law is complex on reserves, applying alongside First Nation laws and federal regulations under the Indian Act. While certain federal laws, such as the Divorce Act, apply on reserves, and then it's been cut off. Yeah. She did. she took a polygraph with the RCMP. She's not hiding from the RCMP. She's turning up to interviews, and she's communicating with them, and she's not hiding. She's not hiding from them. The issue that I have with Malaya is the fact that she left the very next day. That's the issue that I have, not where she's living. I don't think where she's living now is at all relevant. I think it's the fact that she left. She could have left and gone anywhere, and I still would have had the same feeling that who does that? And it makes me think that she wanted to leave Daniel anyway. And that was just a get out of jail. That she took that opportunity when her mother said that, you know, they had a little conflab between Malaya and her mother, and then she decided to go with her mother. Whatever her mother said to her to get her to leave, if Malaya was truly happy and comfortable living with Daniel and there weren't any problems, it wouldn't have mattered what her mother said. She wouldn't have left, would she? But she did leave, and she, you know, basically anything could have happened to Jack and Lily, and she had no way of assisting. She's not advocated for her children. Well, she hasn't in public. No, she hasn't in public. We don't know what she's done behind the scenes, but she definitely hasn't in public. And that bothers me. It absolutely, it really bothers me. That really bothers me. It really bothers me. But the dog issue is, I can't get over the fact that the RCMP have not employed cadaver dogs, as I've talked about over the last couple of days. There's only 12 cadaver dogs in the whole of Canada. Why? I don't know. It would be standard practice to send cadaver dogs in a circumstance like Lilly and Jack's. If it had happened in the US or it had happened in the UK. Like, obviously, the first set of dogs that go in are going to be live scent trackers, because they're hoping when it's a missing child that the child just wandered away and got lost. And, you know, they're going to be found, whether it be by dogs or whether it be by, you know, the searchers, a drone or a helicopter. They're going to find them, and they're going to find them alive. That's what they're all hoping at first. And in the majority of cases where kids do go missing, they are found very quickly, because guess what? They've wandered off and got lost. Or if it's a teenager, they've run away for some reason, but they come back or they're found and they're reunited with their family. The vast majority of cases, children go missing of all ages. The vast majority are found, and they're found safe. And there's been no crime, there's been nothing untoward whatsoever. They've either wandered away and got lost, or they've run away because they've had an argument with their parents, and they either come back of their own accord or they get found and they're reunited with their family. In cases where a child goes missing and stays missing, in this case, two children go missing and stay missing, it's unusual in itself. And of course, in cases where kids are reported missing and stay missing, very often there is foul play. And very often it's foul play committed by members of their family. We've seen it in California recently with Emmanuel Haro. We've seen it in Kentucky recently with Jaden Spicer. Oh, thank you, Holly, for gifting 10 memberships. That's very kind of you. We've got Words, Peggy, Squid, Shauna, Prying Paula, Granny Martina, Sunchip, B in Florida, and Sarge. Thank you so much. Thank you. Holly, you're so kind, and welcome. Go and check out the members area. You 10 people. You lucky people. I'm going to gift a few memberships here. I always forget that YouTube gives us the opportunity to give some memberships. Hold on. I always forget. Let's gift a few memberships here. I used to do it when I used to get a lot of people in my live streams. I don't get a lot of people in anymore, but when I used to get, if I got up to 1,000 likes, I used to give 20 memberships. But don't get anywhere near the amount of people and never get to 1,000 likes ever. So I've got out of the habit of gifting memberships. However, YouTube gives us the opportunity to gift. I can't remember how many memberships it is. Why is it wanting me to join my own channel? What are you doing? Membership gifting. Here we are. All right. Send gift memberships free of charge. You have 10 gift memberships left this month. Send 5 now. All right. 5 incoming. There we go. We got Shazza. We got Noodles. Not my dog Noodle. A different Noodle. Carolina. Kelly. Another Kelly. Is that it? I think that's it. And we've also got a super chat. Thank you, Angie, for the $24.99 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much. It's very, very kind. People have been very generous today. Oh, no, I've lost my chat completely. What the hell? What the hell? Where's my chat gone? Live chat, there we are. We've got Joyous N, who's just joined. Thank you so much, Joyous. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Welcome, welcome. All right, if we get to 500 likes, I'll gift 10 memberships. I can gift another 5 right now, free of charge. But if we get to 500 likes, I'll gift another 10 out of my own dollar, not just by YouTube, giving me free ones. So we got Karen, Ralph, Celtic Vegan, Linda, and Fly on Your Wall. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. So those are my free ones. But if we get to 500 likes, I shall give you 10 free memberships from my own dollar. So we're up to 300 likes now. But we've only got 449 people in the chat, so I don't think we're going to get there. But anyway, we can try. We can try. All right, back to this. So, dogs. The problem of not deploying cadaver dogs. And we know they haven't, because here is the information from the latest document, which it is nearly 2 months old. Like, the latest document is nearly 2 months old. So they could have employed cadaver dogs by now and just not told anyone. But up to the 16th of July, they had not deployed cadaver dogs. Not one mention in this entire document, this entire 49 pages, does it have a mention of cadaver dogs. So the reason I I'm upset that they haven't, is because it would be standard practice in other areas of the world. The US, it will be standard practice. They send the live scent trackers in. If they don't find the person within a couple of days, they send cadaver dogs. They start to fear that the person is dead, and they deploy cadaver dogs. And it's not just in terms of, cadaver dogs finding a dead body out in the woods. Cadaver dogs can be used to check, in Lilly and Jack's case, to check the property. Could it be that Lilly and Jack were murdered or did die and then were moved at a later time? Well, if cadaver dogs are deployed, cadaver dogs might give you an indication that there were human remains in a particular location at some point. Again, I'll go back to Michael Vaughan case from Idaho. And that horrible week we had, the latter end of, I think it was like November 2022. So Michael had been missing over a year. And then suddenly they started to dig up a backyard that's about half a mile away from Michael's house. And every single cadaver dog that they took to that backyard indicated, alerted in the same spot, but they did not find Michael's remains. And the cops came out, did a press conference and said that they believe Michael was buried in that backyard, but his body was moved. That came from the police chief, Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Huff, came from his mouth at a press conference that's what they believed. So cadaver dogs are not just useful to find a dead body, but they can start to fill in some blanks. So I just don't understand Canada. I don't understand Canada's viewpoint of having so few cadaver dogs, and the ones that they do have, they don't deploy them. They don't deploy them. And to me, it's not a budgeting thing. Obviously, every single case has a budget because, yeah, it's highly emotive when you've got two little kids who go missing, and it's generated a lot of media interest, but you can't just carry on limitlessly because the case is high profile or because the case involves two children. You have to be fair to all the other cases that you've got. And there comes a time when searches do have to be, toned down due to budgeting concerns. But cadaver dogs are actually cost effective. They're no more expensive to keep or expensive to train or expensive to deploy than any other type of dog. They're no more difficult to train than any other kind of dog. So why Canada only has 12 is shocking to me. But it's not budgeting concerns. They can be cost effective because they give you an indication where a body might have been. And then you can focus your efforts on that particular location. It can rule out places as well. So I don't understand. But this line here, they brought, actually, I'll read the whole section so that we read it in context. Between May 2nd and May 7th, Ground Search and Rescue performed a comprehensive search of the area where Jack and Lily went missing. Following is a summary. So Amy Hansen was the search manager. She said the first day of the search focused on what GSA call hasty searches, meaning they searched linear features like streams, trails, train tracks, and road signs. They also did some grid searches along the residence where Jack and Lily were last seen. That night, mountain bike teams came and did search on trails. Boot prints were found on the pipeline by a G-saw Friday night into Saturday morning. There were clumps of them, and there were 2 different sizes. She said they were small in size and corresponded to what children would wear. They focused their search in that area because of the boot prints. They did grid searches in the area of the boot prints and expanded out to waterways in that area as well. They conducted more searching in the area of the house. They brought in heavy urban dogs who use air scenting to find people that are alive. So I understand why they used air scenting dogs that search just the air. But once they found those boot prints, as I've said in recent videos, once they found those boot prints, I would have liked them to have brought in scent specific ground center dogs or trailing dogs. Because if you've got boot prints, you've got to have a track. You've got to have a track. A boot print shows that someone walked along. And the fact that they didn't bring dogs that were able to track the ground for Lilly and Jack's scent specifically is a problem. The fact that they didn't do that is a big problem. Now, the rationale for all that I've laid out in recent videos. And I know people are getting sick of the dogs, so I'm not going to say too much more. But if you want to know more, you want to know why all of those things, go and check out my videos from earlier on in the week. And then where they found the blanket, they also deployed a dog. So if we go further down, the blanket, I mean, this is just stupid. Instead of deploying a cadaver dog to just go under the trailer, they got a drone to go under the trailer. And they couldn't even get the drone under certain parts of the trailer. Why not just deploy a cadaver dog to say yay or nay? There are human remains under here. Why a drone? It's stupid. Just stupid. Oh, this is a boot print. Blanket. All right. So May 2nd, family members taking part in the search for Jack and Lily located a pink blanket. The following is a summary. So it was Haley and Aidan. Did they go back and check the body of water? Yes, Lisa, who has been a member for 33 months. I'm going to show you the map in a minute. Yes, they did look at bodies of water. So it's Haley and Hayden, who are Malaya's stepsister and brother, and Hayden's girlfriend, who found the pink blanket in a tree on Lansdowne Station Road. Not on the pipeline. According to this document, the blanket was not found on the pipeline. It was found in the opposite direction to the pipeline, according to this document. Sunchip, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Larissa, Crime Time Watcher, Cheryl, Susan, and Danny. Welcome. If you've not been a member before, go and check out the members area. And thank you so much, Sunchip. Okay. So Constable Gagnon and Mason drove Haley Hayden and Hayden's girlfriend back to the location where they saw the blanket. Corporal Martin and his police dog were called to the area. He took photographs of the blanket. He walked for about a kilometre in the area with his dog on an adjacent trail. They did not pick up a scent to complete a track. So there was no scent around where the blanket was found. But that doesn't surprise me because it's in the opposite direction to the pipeline. Either that blanket got legs and walked itself and then climbed up a tree and decided to, hang from a tree. It blew there in the wind somehow, or it was taken there. But it wasn't taken there by Lilly and Jack. So I don't know whether someone planted it or someone had taken that strip of blanket for whatever reason and used it for another purpose. Who knows? But I don't believe that blanket was put 3 feet up in a tree. The 3 to 3.5 feet, it says here somewhere. Sure it does. It gives you Taylor said blah blah blah. A piece of blanket in a tree and 2 bigger size shirts on the ground just below. Somebody's put those there. Somebody's put those there. There we go. He said the blanket was hanging 3 or 3.5 feet off the ground and hung up like a bath towel. I honestly don't think that the blanket is anything. I think that the blanket is a red herring. Whether it's been planted by somebody to throw the cops off the scent, or it's been planted there for a joke, or it was taken there at some other time for whatever reason. I think the blanket was found in the garbage south the road and was maybe ripped up and used by loggers to mark a road that was being logged. I don't know. But look, this is the map, right? And they say the blanket was found on Lansdowne Station Road. This is Lansdowne Station Road here. Can you see? Lansdowne Station Road. So it comes off Gaylord Road. This is the property. It comes off Gaylord Road. It goes down. It takes a sharp turn. And then it carries on along here. And then it joins this road. McLeod Road. So that's Lansdowne Station Road, right? And it says that the blanket was found on Lansdowne Station Road. In a tree on Lansdowne Station Road. Now, the pipeline is in the opposite direction. The pipeline is here. This is the pipeline. This is the pipeline. Completely the opposite direction. And I think people are confusing Lansdowne Road. This is Lansdowne Road, which intersects with the pipeline, and Lansdowne Station Road. They are completely 2 different roads. So it's incorrect to say. And I thought it was as well at first. I thought that the blanket was found near the pipeline, but not according to this document. According to this document, it was found on Lansdowne Station Road, not Lansdowne Road, Lansdowne Station Road. So it's not surprising that there's no scent in that area because Lilly and Jack were never there. So I don't really know what to say. I don't really know what to say, honestly. But the pipeline is up here. Well, the pipeline runs like right the ways along here. and the boot prints were found on the pipeline. But like I said, I would have liked them to have used a ground scent tracker dog to try to follow the boot prints, to try to track the scent of Lilly and Jack from those boot prints. But they didn't do it. They just didn't do it. Now, they did search these waterways here. So you've got Lansdowne Lake, and then these ponds, they also searched on the campground. And they did that May 8th, May 9th. And we don't know where those boot prints were along this pipeline. I think they may have been along here, close to here, because of the water searches, that they felt they needed to search these bodies of water. Because if Lilly and Jack had, I don't know, walked along this pipeline and then gone to the lake and fallen in, then they had to search them. Do you think they're Tuesday? I don't know what Tuesdays means. Little Miss Madhead. Tuesdays? There is a picture of the blanket that does the rounds, and it's just like a slither. It's not like an actual blanket. It's like a slither of material that once was from a blanket. But apparently Daniel ripped the blanket when he was putting the blanket up to insulate from a draft. He ripped the blanket, and it was the ripped piece that supposedly was found on the pipeline. On the Lansdowne Station Road. But these bodies of water, if the boots were found along here, would have been obviously a big concern for them. So they came back and searched those. But they completely missed an opportunity. Totally missed an opportunity. But if we go back to the boot prints, okay. Boot prints were found, grid searches, check blinds, tree stands and other structures that were open. They opened car doors if they were unlocked but did not enter the houses. And then they came back on May 17th to May 19th and did this same areas again. May 31st and June 1st. And then the underwater stuff was done May 8th and May 9th. So check bodies of water in the area of Jack and Lily's residence. The following is a summary. So 3 ponds were checked in the area of the campground and part near Jack and Lily's house. The boat was placed in all 3 ponds. They used sonar to confirm there was nothing in the lake. There was a pond that was not easily accessible and they couldn't put a boat in, so they didn't search that. May 9th, they went to Lansdowne Lake. They used sonar to check the lake and nothing was located. They checked all the areas they believe were easily accessible to small children. So they did a further search on June 19th to search the pond that had been done previously at the Lauder campground. Nothing was located. They checked a swampy pond related to a tip that was received. that said the pond should be checked. There was little water and it's not suitable for diving or any tools available to them, so they didn't bother. So that's a concern, that there's a swampy pond that hasn't been checked simply because they couldn't put divers or tools in. Why didn't they walk it then? Why didn't they walk it then? But if the boot prints were found along here, it makes sense, because they'd have been thinking, well, maybe Jack and Lily went for a walk on the pipeline, were coming back down here, and then decided to go in the pond. But they weren't there. But this, from here to here, so this walk here, is 1.4 miles. From here, from their property, up here, and then going up this road, that's 1.4 miles. And that's very doable. Very doable. So to go back to the title of this live stream, it's an unpopular opinion. Very unpopular opinion to say that they walked away. But what if they did? What if they did? What if they did walk away? And either they're caught in some kind of swamp that wasn't searched, or another issue that I think is an issue in Sebastian's case as well, potentially, and Summer's case, potentially. What if they walked further than the search area? What if they walked further than the search zone? What if? And if the cops are saying, like they've said, well, let's go back here. Oh, I missed it. I want the bit about the polygraphs. Here we go. I missed it. They're saying this, right? They're saying this. At this point in the investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offence has occurred. So are they just going to leave, right, the case as it stands? All right, they're not closed the case, obviously, but they're just going to leave the case and think, oh, well, you know, there's no crime. Jack and Lily are dead. There's nothing we can do other than, you know, wait for new tips to come in, and then we'll follow up on tips. But we're not going to do any active searching. We're just going to say, oh, well, there was no crime and we've done our bit and that's it. That's it. And they're just going to leave the bodies out there, because that's what the RCMP seem to do. The RCMP have a habit of doing this. If you saw my video from yesterday and the case of Paul Doherty from New Brunswick, the RCMP refused to search for Paul Doherty. They have said that they're not going to deploy dogs, cadaver dogs, to search for Paul, because there's no evidence of a crime. Therefore, he doesn't get the dogs. This is what the RCMP routinely do to families. This is what they do. This is what they do. This is their stance. Yeah, don't go missing in Canada. I'll show you the article that I read in yesterday's video for those that didn't see it. Let me just find it. All right, here we go. This is the article from 2023. And the article that I read yesterday in my video was from a year later than this. And the family had got a volunteer cadaver dog team out there to help them. But the RCMP will not send cadaver dogs out to search for Paul. They will not do it. St. John woman whose grandfather went missing in Penfield nearly 2 years ago, it was at 2021, August 2021, is raising questions about whether New Brunswick has enough search dogs trained in human remains detection and how decisions are made about when to use them. Amanda Sayer, I think, said it's been upsetting to see how some other missing persons in New Brunswick have been handled, and it seems that many more resources have been able to be pulled in similar situations. So there was a case here where Brian Ahern, 76-year-old man with Alzheimer's, missing since April 29th, they did bring in, the police paid to bring in volunteer cadaver dogs, but not in Paul's case. Happy for the families that I've seen it happen to, including them. It's just the fact that it's not fair. And that's the last known sighting of Paul. It was 2021 COVID time, so that's why he's wearing a mask. He's not like robbing a bank or anything. So, his granddaughter, this is Paul, his granddaughter says that the RCMP have repeatedly refused requests by a family to send RCMP human remains detection dogs to search for a grandfather because the closest one is in Alberta and the force won't cover the travel expenses unless someone finds something to indicate Doherty is in the search area. Well, it's a catch-22 then, isn't it? It's a catch-22 because unless you send people and dogs to search an area, unless you actually search an area, how will you find anything to indicate that they're in that area? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Grand Bay, Westville, RCMP have also refused to request the assistance of non-police cadaver dog teams, such as the main search and rescue dogs, according to Seb, because the circumstances didn't meet the requirements. The Department of Justice and Public Safety also, as an emergency management coordinator who has a dog trained and certified in human remains detection and may be deployed at the request of a police agency. But they won't do it in this case. They won't do it in this case. RCMP would have a starting point to work from because Paul's car was found. So they know the starting point. Who gets to decide which missing person is more important than others? Exactly. 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 Grand Bay, Westville, RCMP Corporal Julie Rogers-Marsh did not respond directly to their concerns about a human remains dog not being used. The RCMP did not request security video from the business where Doherty was last seen. They only sent up a helicopter 4 days after he was reported missing, once the family obtained the security video, and only conducted a ground search about 2 weeks later, when the family pushed for the helicopter to be sent up again and his vehicle was located. So they weren't even going to bother to search for him at all. It was only because the family insisted and kept badgering the cops that they ever did anything. And then they located his car. They located his car, but they didn't bother to search any further. The missing persons file remains active and a priority for the RCMP, says Rogers Marsh. How is it a priority when you're refusing to do the things that likely would find Paul's remains? The Grand Bay, Westville RCMP has received information and several tips that have all been looked into and followed up on. However, we have not been able to locate Mr. Doherty. We are continuing to ask the public for their assistance. Well, you're not doing anything about finding this gentleman for his family. He has dementia but drove there. My dad drove when he had dementia. He actually passed. He had to do a new driving test and he passed. And he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. It was only when it got really severe that he stopped driving. So yeah, you can drive with dementia, and you can pass a driving test when you've got dementia. Because driving, if you've been driving like my dad had been since he was like 18 years old, then driving is just second nature to you. The RCMP has 12 human remains detection dogs strategically located in divisions across Canada. She declined. So this woman here, Amanda Perry, says she won't disclose the locations or distribution or say if there's any in New Brunswick. So why are they being so shady? Why are they being so shady about where these dogs are located? It's crazy. Won't even say if there are any at all in New Brunswick. It is a unique specialist profile that trains the dog teams to identify and locate human remains. It's not unique. It's not unique at all. It's standard practice for police services to deploy cadaver dogs. If you are living in the USA or you're living in the UK, it's standard practice. It's not unique in any way, shape, or form. The training, I train Cassie on human remains, except for the kits that you need, because obviously you can't go killing people to, use as training aids. So you have to buy like special kits that have the human remains scent. They're really expensive. So I've never done it with Cassie, but I could train Cassie to search for human remains just as easily as I've taught her to search for a phone. It's the same training. It's the same training. Human remains detection, detecting the scent of death. You train the dog in the same way that you train them in any other form of article detection. It's not difficult either. And a dog that's motivated, a dog that wants to search, like you're never going to train somebody like Tilly because she just doesn't have the motivation. She'd search for pizza. She could be a pizza detection dog very easily. She could do that. But nothing would motivate her to want to go and search for a phone. She just wouldn't, she wouldn't interest her in any way. But Cassie likes searching for stuff. She likes finding stuff. So it was easy to train Cassie to search from her phone. It would be just as easy to get her to search for human remains, but the kits that I need to buy are too expensive. They're extortionately expensive. Yeah, if you want to be in the running for a gifted membership, you need to turn it on at your end. Turn on gifted memberships at your end. and then you just have to wait because I nor anyone else can give gifted memberships to a particular person. Like YouTube decides who gets the gifted memberships, but you have to make sure that the ability for your account to get a gifted membership is turned on at your end. It's a unique specialist profile. Human remains detection dogs can find scent at different stages of decomposition. They can indeed, Perry said in an email statement. It's important to note that all of our current 138 general duty police service dogs can search for missing persons, deceased or alive. Yeah, you've got a basic training in tracking, right? So if somebody's gone missing, walks off and then keels over and dies, and you find the track for that person, then yeah, you're going to find a dead person. But you're tracking the live scent. You're not train that dog in specific human remains detection. The general duty dog teams also strategically posted across the country in undisclosed locations. I don't understand. Like the entirety of Canada, they only have 138 police dogs in the entirety of Canada. I honestly don't understand. I don't understand why they don't have police dogs. Why? Do they have crime in Canada? Good Lord. Hold on, I'm going to look up how many police dogs does Lancashire. Right, I'm in Lancashire, so I'm going to do Lancashire Constabulary have. All right. So across the UK, there are around 2,000 police dogs that work across all police forces within the UK. 2,000. We're an island, right? The main island, Great Britain. It's about 800 miles long to about, how wide is it? I've no idea. Like widest point to widest point. Look at the difference in size between the UK and Canada. Now, I know that Canada is more sparsely populated than the UK, but Canada has got 138. The UK has got 2,000. Lancashire specifically, it's not giving me a number. Lancashire Constabulary did not disclose the exact number of police dogs it has, but the information states they have a dogs and mounted section. In general, the number of police dogs is constantly changing depending on puppy development and retirement. Okay, you're not going to tell me. They have a lot. And Merseyside have got loads. Merseyside rely heavily on dogs. Heavily. This is Lancashire Constabulary's website. Dogs mounted section nearby. Each division is run by a chief superintendent. You're not going to tell me. All right. All right. How many police dogs are in the United States? How many police dogs are in the USA? This is obviously just AI, right? So this could be a completely wrong. There are an estimated 50,000 police dogs currently serving in the United States. 50,000! Although the exact number can vary. These canines are a valuable asset to law enforcement, performing a range of duties, including detection, search and rescue, and apprehension of suspects. Detection, using their keen sense of smell, police dogs can locate explosive drugs and accelerants. Dogs trained in apprehension can bite and hold dangerous suspects. Dogs are adept at finding missing people, human remains, or survivors in disaster zones. 50,000. Canada has got 138. Like, every sheriff's office in the United States has got at least one or two police dogs. Like Sumner County in Sebastian's case, Sumner County's got two, Max and Rex. We even know their names. Dear me. Whereas Canada has got 138. What is wrong with Canada? What is wrong with them? I'm sorry. If you're Canadian, I'm sure you love your country, right? You might do. You might not. I don't know. I've not got a problem with Canada, like, per se. But I've got a massive problem with their strategy here. What on earth? What on earth? What on earth? Right. Asked how RCMP decide whether to use dogs in the search and case, she said, if the lead investigator of a file in consultation with the police dog services determines a human remains detection dog is required, effort will be made to assist regardless of the geographical location. It's a whole big, like, palaver to get one dog. Perry declined to say if or when the National Force calls in outside dog services to help. The Department of Justice and Public Services decides when and if to send human remains canine teams in response to a police request. The factor and criteria vary depending on the requesting agency. It's important to note that other emergency services have canine teams as well, and this is taken into consideration. Cost is not a factor for the decision to deploy the team. Costs can range from $250 to $400 a day to cover accommodation, meals, and other travel-related expenses, generally covered by the requesting agency. The human remains team was deployed to assist police or fire agencies or the coroner a total of 8 times in the past year. So across the entire police, the fire agency, and any request by the coroner, just 8 times. 8 times in an entire year. In the whole of Canada. We're not talking about just in one province. We're talking about in the whole of Canada. 8 times. Now, in Jack and Lily's case, do you remember? I played this little piece from the press conference in a video a couple of days ago. Do you remember at the May 7th press conference, they said, a reporter asked the cop whether they were going to employ cadaver dogs. And he gave a non-committal answer, but he said, oh, well, that might be our next step. Well, clearly it wasn't their next step. Clearly they decided against it. Did they decide against it because there's no crime? Did they decide against it because, I don't know, the nearest dog was too far away and they didn't want to pay for the accommodation? I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm at a loss. I'm at an absolute loss. But we do know that in Jack and Lily's case, there is not one mention of cadaver dogs at all. So I think we can assume that they were not deployed. I think we have to assume that they were not deployed. So Jack and Lily could easily have wandered away. Whether they wandered away and something horrible befell them, or whether they were murdered. If Jack and Lily are deceased, the only way that they're ever going to be found is if people are actually searching for them. And at the moment, no one's searching for them. No one's searching for them. I know that at the moment, like wooded areas, like there's a ban on certain wooded areas being like walked through. Is it to do with fires and stuff? I'm not really sure. And I don't know whether that affects Nova Scotia in any way. But as the weather progresses into autumn or fall for you in the United States, that will be the best time to go out and search. That will be the best time, because once the summer like growth, you know, the plant growth has died down, and before snowfall, you know, in Canada you get lots of snow, so there's a time window there where you're going to have the summer growth has died down somewhat, and the leaves have started to fall off the trees. And before winter, that's your key time. So why? And I hope, I absolutely hope that RCMP will do this. I'm not holding my breath. But once the leaves are off the trees, it's going to be easier to see through, like the canopy. And before snowfall, to do another comprehensive search. Now, search and rescue dogs, time been and gone. Right, you got to be in the first few days for a live scent tracker dog to detect a scent. But I think, in my humble opinion, come fall, maybe around about, you know, end of September. Don't know when leaves start falling in Canada. Like, they don't kind of start falling here till like maybe October. It depends how cold it is. We still had leaves on the trees in November last year because it was so mild. Like, my apple tree didn't lose any leaves at all until it wasn't long before Christmas because it was so mild last year here in the UK. They're starting to fall now. Michelle, can you speak on what Kent said? Is a dual-purpose trained scent and cadaver dog as effective as a cadaver dog? In this instance, yes, it would be. In some situations, no, it wouldn't be. So in disaster zones, where you've got a combination of dead bodies and living persons, let's say, for example, in I'm trying to think of a situation like an earthquake. Let's say an earthquake where you've got dead bodies, but you've got live people trapped under rubble and stuff. And obviously the priority in those kind of disasters is to save the people that are still alive. You can go and collect the dead bodies later. They're not going anywhere. You want to save as many living people as you can. In those situations, cross-trained dogs are less effective than single scent trained dogs. So a cross-trained dog in a disaster area where you've got dead bodies and living bodies and you're concentrating on the living, a cross-trained dog is still going to remember that the scent of death is important. So it's going to get confused between what it's meant to be searching for. Whereas a single scent dog, so a dog that's only trained on live scent, is going to be more effective because it will ignore the dead bodies and concentrate on finding the living. In those situations, a single scent trained dog is more effective. In this kind of case, where if Lilly and Jack are in the woods, they've not been living there for the last 4 months, have they? You know, they've not just set up a camp and are living there. They are going to be deceased. In that kind of situation, the fact that a dog is cross-trained is irrelevant. The dog could be trained on drugs, phones, a whole bunch of different things, and be just as effective as a single scent trained dog in a circumstance where there isn't a lot of conflicting scents. Does that make any sense? It makes sense in my head. It doesn't make sense probably in the way I'm saying it. Let's say, right, Cassie is trained on electronics, like phones. I've done phones, SIM cards, and SD cards, so she can find those things, right? If there was one phone in a field or that was scattered with a lot of my clothes, because she's also trained on anything that has my scent on it. So we do socks, hats, clothes, right? If I sent her out in a field to find one phone, but yet there was lots of areas of my scent, like I'd laid out like 10 hats and 10 pairs of socks and stuff like that, it would be almost impossible for her to ignore the hats and the socks and stuff and just find the phone, because she's already imprinted onto, when I find something that smells like Michelle, I pick it up or I alert on it. She's allowed to pick up hats. She's not allowed to pick up anything else. And she'd forget that she's meant to be looking for the phone. So it's the same thing. So, you know, I understand that. I don't send her out to find a phone in a bunch of hats. It would be unfair. And it would be the same for a cross-trained dog. It would be unfair to send them out to find one living person in a whole bunch of dead bodies. It would be unfair. It would just confuse, the dog would be confused. But if you have a cross-trained dog that's out looking for, let's say, for example, I could train Cassie on human remains, because there wouldn't be a situation where she'd need to find a body in a field of phones or a field of hats or a field of my scent. So that would be fine. So you just have to, you've got to use the right dog for the right circumstance. So, well, I don't know. I just don't know in this case. I'm so conflicted. I've been conflicted since day one in this case. Some days I just think, did they get lost? Did they get lost? Are they in one of the swampy areas? Like, if they're in the woods, how have they not been found? Is it because they've just been missed? Or is it because they're in one of the swampy areas that hasn't been searched? Or what? I don't know. I don't know, because there's certain things I can't get over. And it's usually unpopular to say, I think they wandered off. But it's still on the table. I haven't seen anything that takes it off the table for me. But at the same time, there's stuff that concerns me more than the possibility of them wandering away. That keeps me, it keeps all of the possibilities on the table. So when the cops say, this, at this point in the investigation, you can't see it. Hold on. At this point in the investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offence has occurred. Okay, so they've not found anything on the family's phones or the bank or what else have they done, right? The witness statements. They've not found anything that would indicate a crime. Plus the polygraphs also don't indicate a crime. Well, okay, put your money where your mouth is. If you don't believe that there has been a crime, then combine all your resources and get out there and do a week, do a whole week. Get as many volunteer agencies as can be recruited, and everybody just get out there. Because if you don't think that a crime has been committed, well, where are Lily and Jack? Where are they? What is used to train a dog for deceased bodies? Cadaverine, the scent of cadaverine. So there are special kits that you can buy that are as close as can be manufactured in a lab to human cadaverine. That's what's used. But failing the RCMP wanting to actually go out there and search for Lily and Jack, it's going to be down to volunteers, isn't it? And it's going to be down to volunteers finding them, or else the cops are saying there's no crime. Lily and Jack are still missing. Well, I don't know what the answer is. It's going to be in the same situation that the Summer Wells case is in. That in Tennessee there, Summer's been missing now for well over 4 years. Who's searching for her? Who's looking for her? No one. The cops gave up a long time ago. The last search the cops did, where they actually had bodies on the ground, was February 2022. When was the last time there was a press conference in the Summer Wells case? You occasionally get a cop that will give a line or two to the media. Summer's still missing. They say there's no evidence of a crime. They say that Summer, they can't find any evidence of a crime. And there's a very real possibility that she just wandered away. Well, okay then. If she wandered away, where is she? She's not going to be found until someone actually goes out and looks for her. So this case is in very real danger of being the Canadian version of Summer Wells for yet another reason. There's already a lot of similarities between this case and the case of Summer Wells, but we're in very real danger of there being yet another similarity, and that is that Lilly and Jack are never found. And that it'll go 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and onward. And no one is looking for them. No one is looking for them. Just like no one's looking for Summer Wells. Amber Alert should still be in place. Well, there is still an Amber Alert in Summer's case, but there was no Amber Alert ever issued in Lilly and Jack's case. There was no Amber Alert issued in Lilly and Jack's case because there was no evidence of an abduction. So they've said from day one there's no evidence of an abduction. They're saying here there's no evidence of a crime. So they're just going to keep Lilly and Jack out there forever then. Because that seems to be what has happened to this poor man here in New Brunswick, Paul Doherty. Seems to be what's happened to him. That the family are up in arms about it. The family are getting volunteer organisations to go out and try to find him. But the cops are doing nothing. And no, they can't search indefinitely. They can't search forever. But you could at least do something. You could at least do something. Yeah, there was an emergency alert, yeah. Yeah, they did put an emergency alert out. Do you believe everything the RCMP says to the public is actually factual? Yeah, I do. I do believe it's factual. I believe that there's probably things that they know that isn't in these documents, because these documents are just the summaries, the bare bones of the investigation. I do believe there'll be plenty more information that the cops know that hasn't been written down, because the reason why this is written down is for an affidavit for a records request. So in this case, it's for access to certain records held by the RCMP. So they're requesting records. Also, this is the most recent one of those from the 16th of July. So we're nearly 2 months on from this. So there may be things that has come up in the investigation that the cops know that they didn't know in the 16th of July. So I do believe that everything that's written here is factual, because look, it's in an affidavit. An affidavit is a sworn statement. You are swearing, like, to the court that what you're saying is factual. So I don't think they're going to openly lie in an affidavit, although it has happened. It does happen. Look at the Delphi case, for example, because the probable cause affidavit, in that case, there are things in that are provably false. But generally speaking, more often than not, what is written in a sworn affidavit is factual. But it doesn't mean to say that everything that they know about this case is written in this affidavit. That's not true at all. They don't need to write everything they know in an affidavit for a search warrant or an affidavit for an arrest even. They just have to write enough for the judge to sign the document, to sign that, yes, you can go and get a search warrant for this thing, or yes, you can go and arrest this person. Yes, you can have those records. So the affidavit is tailored to its use. So there's going to be more that the RCMP might know that doesn't need to be written in an affidavit. There'll be stuff that they suspect that they have never voiced and it is not appearing in any document, because it's a suspicion. Also, again, this is the latest document we have, the most recent document we have, and this is now nearly 2 months old. So there might be things that has come up in the investigation since then that would have been in an affidavit if it was written now rather than written on the 16th of July. So yeah, I think what they've said is factual, but I don't think it's all they know. But all we have to go off is what's written here until something more recent comes out. So I'm conflicted, very conflicted. That, you know, in summary of all this, could they have wandered away? Absolutely, they could have. Absolutely, they could have. I can't discount that at all. But there are things that concern me that I cannot ignore. Malaya leaving, the CPS issue, Meadow being taken, CPS being involved in Lilly and Jack's lives, the repeated black eyes is odd. Really odd. I think as a child, I think I only ever had one black eye, and I was always bruised. Listen, I used to fight. I used to fall a lot. I had bruises all up my legs throughout my childhood. Always had grazed knees. And I think I only ever got one black eye, and that was falling off my sister's bike. And I cracked the side of my head, and somehow it's black. It must just busted something in my. I think it was like, you know, your eye socket, like the bone above your eye, that hit the ground. So I had this massive black eye. And I was like 16, riding a little girl's bike down the road, having a laugh on Christmas morning. And my knees were right up against the handlebars because it was a little girl's bike, because my sister's like 7 years younger than me. I just lost my balance and fell. The only time as a minor that I ever got a black eye. So, yeah, I think that's odd, really odd. And then the dog issue is absolutely baffling. The fact that there was no scent other than on the driveway, it is a concern. However, because they used the wrong dogs, I believe, in the early stages of the investigation, and as they haven't bothered employing cadaver dogs at all, I have a massive issue with that. So I can't say, yeah, I believe Lilly and Jack wandered away, because there's too many problems with it. However, I can't say, I think Daniel did something, or I think Malaya did something, or I think Janie did something, or someone else did something, because there's no evidence of it. I can't say that, but I can't rule it out either. I just cannot pin down any one theory that I think, yeah, that most likely happened. I can say that in Sebastian's case, that, yeah, that's what most likely happened. Not saying for 100%, but I can say that's what most likely happened. But in this case, I can't. I could believe it. I could believe that they wandered away. But then I think, well, yeah, but what about that? Or what about that? And then I'm stuck. I'm just stuck. Canada, of all places in the world, needs cadaver dogs. like you're a huge country that is, you know, very rural. Apart from like in the cities, you've got a lot of rural stuff, and a lot of people go missing in Canada. There's a lot of people missing in Canada, and they'll stay missing because no one's looking for them. I don't get it, honestly. Honestly, I'm sure that if Canada looked at the model that the USA have, or the model that the United Kingdom have, for missing persons, that they would find more people and it would be more cost effective than just having all these cases that are still open. I just don't know. I just don't know. Your suit on with Sebastian. I don't know what that means. Suit on. Suit on. Yeah, I think the bones in the Decker case were animal, yeah. Oh, spot on. Why are they now saying that they're not? I haven't looked at the Travis Decker case after that came back about the bones. Oh yeah, they were deemed not human. I'll show you. Okay. So API said Friday, found bones during a search, blah, blah, blah. Said on Monday. Oh, is this? Oh, well, that's not a good article. Here we go. This is better. Bones found in Travis Decker manhunt are not human, FBI says. So, said Wednesday, remains recovered during last week's grid search for fugitive father Travis Decker reviewed and found not to be human. Bones were analysed, found not to be of human origin. So it doesn't say what animal they were, but they weren't human, so. Yeah, that's right. This document from July 16th, we don't know. We don't know whether they've got anything new. We don't know whether anything that is written in here can now be disregarded. We don't know because this is the most recent document we have. So until more information comes out, this is all we have. So when they say there's no evidence of a crime, that's no evidence of a crime as of the 16th of July. Is there evidence of a crime now, nearly 2 months later? It remains to be seen. They put out 2 vulnerable person alerts. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Did I get to 500 likes? I bet I didn't. Oh, 498 likes. Oh, nearly. Could we get 2 more likes? And then I'll give away 10 memberships before we go. So if you just come in, I did say that if we get to 500 likes, I would give away 10 more memberships. Oh, there we go. 517 likes. Oof. All right, here we go. Here we go. Membership gifting. All righty. How you doing it? There we go. Yay! All right, Finding Solace, Terry. God, I can't even see. Little Madhead, Osprey, Sandy, Tammy, Karma, M, Quad, Jen. I think that's it. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Go and check out the members area if you've never been a member before. All right, I am out of here. So thank you to those who donated earlier on in the live stream. We got Miss Kojak, Purple AJ gifted 10, Life Little J Forever, Bug Love gifted 5, Holly gifted 10, I gifted 5. That was free from YouTube. So YouTube gifted 5, I guess we'll say. Angie, thank you so much. Joyous joined us. I gifted another 5, courtesy of YouTube. Lisa's been a member for 33 months. Sunchip gifted 5. Yvonne has been a member for 35 months. And then I gifted another 10 out of my own dollar. Yay. All right. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, mods, as always. Look after yourselves, as always. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.